Now, taking a look further back into the annals of space history, this Saturday, November 19th, will mark the 63rd anniversary of the Apollo 12 moon landing, humanity's second trip to the surface of another world. Astronauts Pete Conrad, Richard Gordon, and Alan Bean launched in their Saturn V rocket on November 14th at 11:22 a.m. local time. 36.5 seconds after liftoff, though, the rocket was struck by lightning, um, an unprecedented event in Apollo history. This knocked out all three fuel cells, leaving the vehicle powered only by its batteries, which couldn't supply enough current for all of the Saturn V systems. They were struck by lightning again at 52 seconds, which took out the 8-ball attitude indicator and garbled the telemetry being radioed back to mission control. At the time, the astronauts were looking at a bunch of warning and caution lights, but at the time they had no idea what happened. The Saturn V's instrument unit guidance system was unaffected, though, and the rocket kept ascending on trajectory. Back in mission control, the electrical, environmental, and consumables manager, John Aaron, remembered the telemetry failure pattern from an earlier test and instructed the crew to set SCE to aux, meaning switch the signal controlling electronics to a backup power supply. Almost nobody knew about that switch, except for Alan Bean, who flipped it, fixing the telemetry stream and saving the mission. Mission Control was also concerned that the lightning strikes might have damaged the explosive bolts that opened the command module's parachute compartment. They decided not to tell the astronauts about this concern for the remainder of the mission, since there was nothing that could be done about it. Even if they were to abort on ascent, if those bolts failed, the astronauts would perish anyway. So they simply didn't tell them. Why give them an extra thing to worry about? Now, the crew orbited Earth for a couple of hours, executed the lunar injection burn, and 3.5 days later were orbiting the moon. They touched down on November 19th and spent almost 32 hours on the surface, 7 hours 45 minutes of which they were outside the lander doing EVAs and collecting 75 pounds of moon rocks. This was much longer than Apollo 11's 2.5-hour EVA. The return trip took another 4 days, and they splashed down on November 24th. The parachute compartment's explosive bolts did work perfectly, much to everyone's relief.